It was a sunny Saturday afternoon. The streets were quiet, and the air smelled fresh after the morning rain. In front of a modern, shiny house, a bright yellow Lamborghini gleamed under the sunlight. Its polished body reflected the trees and the blue sky above. The car belonged to Alex, a young man who loved his luxury car more than anything. Today, he had decided to wash it himself, carefully wiping every curve, making sure not a single spot of dust remained. Alex stood back for a moment and admired his work. The Lamborghini looked perfect, almost like a piece of art. He ran his hand over the hood and smiled. "You're shining today," he said softly, talking to the car as if it were alive. Just as he was about to start the engine for a short drive, he noticed someone approaching from the sidewalk. It was a teenage girl, no older than 16. She walked slowly, her eyes fixed on the Lamborghini. Alex thought she might just be curious, a kid who loved cars. But there was something in her expression that made him uneasy. The girl paused near the edge of the driveway. She glanced at her phone, then looked back at the car. She had a backpack slung over one shoulder and a mischievous smile that didn't reach her eyes. Alex felt a small chill run down his spine. He stepped closer to the car, ready to intervene if needed. "Hello," he said cautiously. "Do you like cars?" The girl tilted her head and said nothing. Instead, she slowly took a small object from her backpack. Alex squinted, trying to see what it was. It looked like a coin or maybe a key. Before he could react, she held it near the Lamborghini's side. Alex's heart raced. "Hey, what are you doing?" he asked, taking a step forward. The girl ignored him. She leaned slightly closer to the car, her hand hovering above the shiny surface. Alex could see her fingers twitching as if she was tempted to touch it. Every instinct in him shouted to stop her, but she didn't seem afraid. From the corner of his eye, Alex noticed movement behind the girl. A woman was walking quickly towards them. Her face was stern, and she had that protective parent vibe. Alex assumed it was the girl's mother. The woman's heels clicked loudly on the pavement as she came closer. "Is she bothering you?" the woman called out, her voice sharp. "No, not yet," Alex replied, still watching the girl. "But she's about to. I think she's going to touch my car." The girl's hand inched closer to the Lamborghini's surface. Alex's stomach tightened. He could feel the tension in the air. It was one of those moments where time seems to slow down, and every second stretches longer than it should. The woman arrived next to her daughter and whispered something in her ear. The girl nodded slightly but didn't move away. Instead, she glanced at Alex, almost like she was daring him. Alex swallowed hard. "Listen, please don't scratch the car," he said firmly. The girl smirked. "I just want to see if it's real," she said softly, her voice teasing. Alex took a deep breath. "It is real, and it's expensive. Please don't touch it." The girl's mother sighed, crossing her arms. "She's just curious," she said, trying to calm Alex down. But Alex wasn't calm. Every muscle in his body was tense. Something about the girl's boldness made him nervous. He knew kids could make mistakes, but there was a wild energy in her eyes that told him this wouldn't be just a small mistake. The girl tilted her head again, pretending to look at something on the ground. Then, very slowly, she raised her hand again, this time holding a small rock she had picked up. Alex's eyes widened. "No!" he shouted, moving forward, but it was almost too late. The girl's hand hovered above the Lamborghini, her fingers tightening around the rock. Alex could see the hesitation in her eyes, but also the thrill. She seemed to enjoy the moment, testing the limits. "Stop!" her mother shouted, but the girl ignored her. Alex felt his pulse quicken. The Lamborghini, his pride and joy, was seconds away from being damaged. He could feel the tension rising like a storm ready to explode. Neighbors had begun peeking from their windows, sensing something unusual was happening. In that moment, Alex knew this encounter was going to be more than just a simple misunderstanding. The teen wasn't backing down, and her mother seemed unsure how to control her. Alex took a deep breath, preparing himself for what could come next. The girl's hand trembled slightly, the rock poised above the shiny car. Everything around them seemed silent, as if the world was holding its breath. Then, just as Alex moved to grab her hand, the girl froze. She looked at her mother, then back at Alex, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. And that's when Alex realized, this was only the beginning. The encounter, quiet at first, had turned into a tense standoff. Nobody knew what would happen next. Would the car survive? Would the teen finally leave? Or would chaos erupt right here in the quiet suburban street? One thing was clear, Alex's peaceful afternoon was over. The street had grown quieter, almost eerily so. Alex's heart was still racing from the tense moment with the teen outside his Lamborghini. He thought she might back off, maybe retreat when her mother called her. But she didn't. In fact, something in her eyes told him this wasn't just curiosity anymore, it was mischief. The teen took a tiny step closer. Her mother seemed unsure what to do. She stood frozen, arms crossed, like a statue. Alex could feel the air around them thicken with tension. He wanted to say something, to stop her, but every word felt useless. Then, in one quick motion, the teen leaned forward and lightly dragged the edge of a small metal key across the Lamborghini's side. The faint scratching sound was almost melodic, but Alex didn't hear music. He heard panic. "Oh no!" Alex shouted, jumping forward. His voice cracked with fear and frustration. The teen didn't flinch. She tilted her head, smirked, and said in a mocking tone, "Oops, did I do something?" Alex's stomach sank. That oops wasn't innocent, it was deliberate. He couldn't believe what was happening. The Lamborghini, his pride, his treasure, now had a scratch running across its flawless paint. His hands shook. He looked at the mark, a silver line cutting through the bright yellow surface like a warning. The girl's mother finally spoke up, her voice sharp but uncertain. "She's just a kid. It's not the end of the world." "Not the end of the world?" Alex repeated, his voice rising. "It's my Lamborghini. You can't just..." He stopped himself, realizing his anger might make things worse. The teen tilted the key in her hand, pretending to polish the scratch. Her smirk grew. "See? Nothing serious. Relax." Alex wanted to grab the key, to stop her, but he hesitated. Something about her confidence unsettled him. He realized this was no ordinary teenager. She wasn't just a kid testing limits, she was bold, fearless, maybe even reckless. Around them, neighbors had begun to gather. Some whispered, some watched silently, sensing a storm about to hit. The tension was electric, like static before lightning strikes. Alex felt every eye on him. He knew he had to stay calm, but his hands trembled with anger and fear. "Get away from the car," he shouted. His voice was loud, echoing down the quiet street. The teen laughed lightly, the sound sharp and teasing. "Why?" "It's just a scratch," she said, voice sweet but mocking. "You're too serious." Alex's mind raced. Should he call the cops now? Should he fight her? Or should he just walk away and accept the damage? Each option felt wrong, dangerous, or humiliating. Then the teen's mother stepped closer, putting a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "That's enough," she said. But her tone was weak, almost apologetic. It was clear she didn't have full control over her daughter. Alex realized the situation was spiraling. The teen's small act of rebellion had already caused chaos, and there was no guarantee it would stop here. He could feel the energy around them rising, the calm suburban street turning into a battleground. Suddenly, the teen made a sudden move. She tapped the key lightly again on the car, just enough to leave another tiny mark. Alex flinched. This time, he couldn't hold back. "Stop! Now!" he shouted, his voice sharp and commanding. His heart pounded like a drum. The teen froze for a moment, the key hovering above the car. Then she slowly pulled it away, still smirking, like a cat that had toyed with a mouse. She looked at her mother, who sighed and muttered something under her breath. Alex took a step closer to the car, inspecting the scratches. He ran his hand over the marks. His fingers tingled with frustration. Each tiny scratch felt like a personal attack. He couldn't understand why the teen would do this. The mother's eyes met his. "It's just a scratch," she repeated. "You're overreacting." Alex's gaze hardened. "Overreacting? Look at my car," he snapped. "You're teaching her that it's okay to damage other people's property?" The teen, noticing the rising tension, started to giggle quietly, enjoying the chaos she had caused. Alex's pulse quickened. He knew the situation could explode at any moment. Then, as if on cue, the teen backed away slightly, glancing around the street as though testing for witnesses. Alex realized she wasn't done. Her smirk said that all of this was just the beginning, and the chaos wasn't going to end until someone took control. Alex's mind raced. He could see trouble coming, but he wasn't ready to let it go. The scratch was small, but the message was clear. This wasn't just about the Lamborghini, it was about respect, control, and boundaries. And right now, all of that was being challenged in front of his eyes. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. The teen, still smirking, held the key loosely now, like a trophy of her small victory. Alex knew he had a choice: escalate, or wait for the right moment. The wrong move could make the situation worse, but doing nothing wasn't an option either. And in that moment, the quiet suburban street became a stage for a showdown, a clash between pride, youth, and authority. Alex realized one thing: this encounter would be remembered long after the scratches were gone. One wrong move, and chaos would erupt. The quiet street, which just a few minutes ago had seemed peaceful, was no longer calm. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by the shouting and the sudden chaos outside Alex's house. Neighbors peeked from windows, some stepped onto their porches, and a few even grabbed their phones, ready to record. The atmosphere felt charged, like a storm about to break. Alex's heart pounded in his chest. The scratches on his Lamborghini weren't just marks, they were a symbol of disrespect. He could feel his anger building, but he forced himself to breathe. He needed a plan before this situation got completely out of control. The teen, still smirking, began walking in small circles around the Lamborghini, as if daring Alex to stop her. Her mother tried to grab her arm, but the teen shrugged her off easily. "I'm fine," she said, laughing. "He's just scared of me." "Scared?" Alex muttered under his breath. His blood boiled. The girl wasn't scared of him at all, she was enjoying this, and her mother's weak intervention only made things worse. Then came the neighbors. Mr. Jenkins, a tall man from across the street, stepped forward. "Hey! What's going on here?" he demanded. "It's nothing," the teen's mother replied quickly, her voice nervous. "It's not nothing," Alex said sharply. "Your daughter just scratched my Lamborghini." Some neighbors nodded, whispering to each other. Others looked shocked, unable to believe that such chaos could erupt on a quiet suburban street. The whispers grew louder. "Did she really scratch it? That's bold. Wow, look at that car." The teen, sensing the attention, laughed again. "See? Everyone is watching," she said, her voice playful but sharp. She turned to the crowd, waving her hands as if she were the star of a show. Alex felt trapped. The crowd wasn't against him, but their curiosity only added pressure. He could feel every eye on him, judging his next move. And the teen? She thrived on the attention. "Step away from my car," he shouted, his voice echoing down the street. The teen tilted her head and asked innocently, "Why?" "It's not like it's broken." Alex's frustration boiled over. He wanted to grab her, to scold her, but he knew that any sudden move could backfire. The mother looked around, clearly embarrassed, and muttered something to her daughter. But the teen ignored her completely, enjoying the spotlight. Then Mr. Jenkins stepped forward, pointing a finger at the teen. "You can't just do that to someone else's property." The teen laughed again, spinning around like it was a game. "It's just a scratch," she said. "Stop overreacting, everyone." Alex realized the situation was spiraling out of control. The teen had started a small performance, and the neighbors had become unwilling spectators. Every second the teen remained near the Lamborghini, the more unpredictable things became. Suddenly, a new neighbor, Mrs. Patel, came out carrying a basket of laundry. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice tense. "Why is everyone yelling?" The teen waved at her. "Nothing. Just a little fun." Alex's hands shook. This wasn't just about scratches anymore, it was about respect, control, and authority. If he didn't act carefully, things could get even worse. He could feel his anger mix with panic, creating a tight knot in his stomach. Then, unexpectedly, the teen backed into the side of the Lamborghini again, not hard, but enough for Alex to notice immediately. "Stop!" he shouted, running forward. The teen jumped back, giggling. "I'm just checking if it's real." Alex froze for a moment, staring at her. His neighbors stared too, some whispering, some shaking their heads in disbelief. It was clear that the situation had become bigger than any of them had expected. The teen's mother finally tried to take control. "Come on, honey, we should go," she said, grabbing the teen's arm again. But the teen shook her head, resisting. "No! I'm not done yet," she said, laughing. Alex realized something important in that moment. He couldn't just rely on his own strength or words. The chaos had grown too big. He needed help, someone who could stop this before it got even worse. The tension in the street reached a new level. Every neighbor watched, unsure of what would happen next. The teen, full of energy and mischief, had turned a small scratch into a public spectacle. And Alex, frustrated and anxious, knew one thing for sure: this was only the beginning. Something had to be done, but what? The teen wasn't backing down, her mother couldn't control her, and the neighbors were now part of the drama. The Lamborghini stood in the middle of it all, glowing in the afternoon sun, marking the battlefield where pride, chaos, and mischief collided. Alex took a deep breath. He had one decision left. Either escalate the situation or wait for the right moment to end it. But the street was tense, the crowd was watching, and the teen? She was smiling like she owned the world. Chaos had fully arrived. The crowd on the street had grown restless. Whispers turned into murmurs, and murmurs into cautious laughter. The teen, sensing the attention, suddenly looked around as if she had an idea. Her eyes sparkled with mischief. Alex's heart sank. He knew she wasn't done yet. Without warning, the teen spun on her heel and started running down the sidewalk. Her backpack bounced against her shoulder, and her sneakers slapped against the pavement in quick, light steps. The crowd gasped, and Alex's pulse jumped. "Stop! Come back here!" Alex shouted, taking off after her. He had one thought in his mind: protect the Lamborghini. Protect his pride. Protect what was his. The teen's mother yelled after her, flustered and panicked. "Wait! Come back!" But the teen ignored her completely, weaving through the neighbors and darting toward the street corner. Alex's legs pumped fast as he chased her. His breathing grew heavy, but he didn't slow down. He could hear the whispers of the crowd turning into shouts. "Go! Catch her! She's fast!" The teen glanced over her shoulder, smirking, enjoying the chaos she had caused. It wasn't just a run, it was a game for her. Alex's heart pounded harder with every step. He could see the Lamborghini behind him, gleaming in the sunlight, and the scratches seemed to taunt him, daring him to fail. A neighbor, Mrs. Patel, stepped into his path, hands raised. "Be careful! Don't hurt her," she shouted. But Alex barely noticed. His focus was solely on catching the teen before she disappeared completely. The teen took a sudden sharp turn into a narrow alley between two houses. Alex skidded to a stop for a split second, almost losing her. She glanced back, her eyes daring him to follow. Without hesitation, he sprinted into the alley, ignoring the tight space and uneven ground. Suddenly, the teen tripped over a loose brick, almost falling. Alex thought he had a chance. He lunged forward, reaching for her backpack, but she twisted away at the last second, her small hand escaping his grasp. She got up quickly, laughing, her cheeks flushed from excitement. "You're too slow," she teased, darting again toward the end of the alley. Alex clenched his fists in frustration. The teen's energy seemed endless. Her laughter echoed off the walls, making the narrow alley feel like a trap. Every step she took increased his anxiety. He couldn't let her get away. Not after what she had done. Finally, the teen reached the end of the alley and glanced at the street beyond. Cars were parked, people were watching, and her mother was running toward her, yelling. She paused for a split second, calculating her next move. Alex took that moment to grab her shoulder gently but firmly. "Stop," he shouted. The teen froze. Her eyes widened, realizing she might actually be caught. For a second, the street went silent. The crowd's attention shifted completely to the alley. Everyone was holding their breath. Then, in a surprising move, she pushed off his hand, darted sideways, and ran toward the main road. Alex followed, but now he noticed something terrifying. A car was coming down the street, slow but steady. He skidded to a stop, shouting. The teen slowed as well, panic flashing across her face for the first time. She hadn't expected this. Alex realized this was the moment she might actually make a mistake. Her mother rushed to grab her, finally catching up. "Enough! You're going too far," she yelled, her voice finally commanding some authority. The teen struggled for a moment but then allowed herself to be held. Her small fight was over, at least for now. Alex took a deep breath, finally standing still. His chest heaved, adrenaline pumping through his veins. He looked at the street around him, the crowd, the neighbors, the teen in her mother's arms, and realized something. The scratches on the Lamborghini were just the beginning. The chaos this little act had caused was far bigger than anyone could have imagined. And Alex knew something else. Deep down, this was far from over. The teen smirked once, almost defiantly, as if to say, "This isn't finished." Alex clenched his jaw. He needed a plan, and one thought kept repeating in his mind, "It's time for the authorities." Alex stood on the sidewalk, his chest heaving, hands trembling. The teen had finally stopped running, held reluctantly by her mother, but the chaos wasn't over. His Lamborghini stood just a few feet away, its bright yellow paint now marked with scratches. Every neighbor's eyes were on him, their whispers and stares heavy with judgment. He realized he had reached the limit of what he could handle alone. His pride, his patience, even his safety, all had been tested. There was only one solution now: the police. Alex pulled out his phone, his fingers shaking as he dialed. Every second felt like an eternity. The teen noticed immediately, tilting her head curiously. "Who are you calling?" she asked, her voice teasing but cautious this time. "The police," Alex said firmly, not letting her distract him. Her mother's face turned pale. "The police?" she echoed nervously. "Do you really need to do that?" "Yes," Alex said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline. "This has gone too far." In the distance, sirens could already be faintly heard, growing louder. The teen's smirk faltered for the first time. The thrill was fading, replaced by a flicker of fear. She glanced at her mother, unsure what to do. "Stay calm," Alex muttered under his breath. He felt a strange mix of relief and tension. The authorities were coming, but what exactly would happen when they arrived? Would the teen admit her actions, or would chaos escalate even further? The neighbors grew restless. Some whispered, some pointed, and a few murmured their own opinions about who was right or wrong. Alex ignored them, focusing on the approaching sirens. Every moment stretched longer than it should. The teen's mother tugged at her daughter's sleeve. "Maybe we should explain," she said softly, unsure herself. The teen shook her head, looking back at the Lamborghini. Her pride was still intact, but she hesitated. For the first time, Alex noticed uncertainty in her eyes. She had pushed boundaries, and now reality was catching up. Finally, the police car appeared at the end of the street, its red and blue lights flashing. The teen froze completely, gripping her mother's arm. The sound of the siren echoed off the houses, adding a surreal quality to the scene. The officer stepped out, calm but authoritative. They surveyed the scene quickly, the scratched Lamborghini, the teen trembling slightly, the anxious mother, and Alex standing tall but tense. "Everyone calm down," one officer said firmly. His voice cut through the murmurs like a knife. The neighbors stepped back, watching silently. Alex explained the situation in short, clear sentences. "She scratched my Lamborghini," he said. "I tried to stop her. Her mother couldn't control her, and it escalated." The teen stayed quiet at first, her eyes flicking nervously between Alex and the officers. Her mother stepped forward, her tone defensive but wavering. "It wasn't a big deal. He's overreacting," she said. The officers exchanged a glance. One of them knelt slightly to speak to the teen. "Did you scratch the car?" he asked gently but firmly. The teen hesitated, biting her lip. She had been bold, reckless, teasing everyone, but now reality weighed on her. Slowly, she nodded, barely audible. "Yes," she whispered. Alex felt a small sense of relief. At least the truth was out. But the tension didn't disappear. He could feel it in the charged silence of the street, in the neighbors' curious stares, in the teen's guilty but defiant posture. The officers spoke quietly among themselves, then returned to Alex. "We'll need to document the damage and speak to everyone involved," one officer said. "Your Lamborghini and the teen's actions will be reported, and her parents will be advised accordingly." The teen's mother glanced at her daughter, shaking her head. The teen, for the first time, looked down, realizing the situation had gone too far. Alex took a deep breath, letting some of the tension ease. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by the slow burn of frustration and relief. The police presence had stabilized the chaos, but he knew one thing: this wouldn't be forgotten easily, by anyone involved. As the officers began their work, Alex glanced at his Lamborghini. The scratches were minor, but the memory of the chaos, the running, the defiance, the crowd was vivid. He realized that some lessons were learned not from the damage itself, but from the madness surrounding it. And while the teen had been caught, the tension lingered. Everyone on the street had seen a glimpse of what could happen when pride, mischief, and chaos collide. Alex knew the real story wasn't just the scratch, it was the drama, the daring, the defiance. And for the teen, the lesson had only just begun. The sirens had stopped, but the street still buzzed with tension. The teen's mother stood nervously beside her daughter, trying to calm her, but it was clear she had little control. Alex remained a few feet away, his chest still tight with adrenaline. The Lamborghini gleamed under the afternoon sun, but to Alex, it now looked like a fragile prize in a war zone. The cops stepped forward, their faces calm but authoritative. They didn't rush, but every movement they made told the crowd they were in control. Their presence alone was enough to quiet the murmuring neighbors. "Let's start from the beginning," one officer said firmly, turning to Alex. "Explain exactly what happened." Alex took a deep breath, steadying his voice. "I was outside, washing my Lamborghini. The teen, she came near the car. At first, I thought she was just curious, but then she scratched it." His hands gestured toward the faint silver marks on the car's side. Her mother tried to stop her, but it didn't work. She kept pushing, teasing, running. The situation escalated until it became chaos. The officer nodded, jotting notes. Then he turned to the teen. "Is this true?" he asked. His tone was calm but serious, leaving no room for lies. The teen's eyes flicked nervously toward Alex, then to her mother. For the first time, the playful smirk was gone. Her hands fidgeted with the strap of her backpack. Slowly, almost reluctantly, she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "I scratched the car." The mother stepped forward defensively. "It wasn't a big deal. He overreacted." "Ma'am," the officer interrupted, his tone firm but not unkind, "that's not the point. You're responsible for your child. She damaged property, and we need to handle this properly." Alex felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief that the truth was out. Anger that this situation even happened. But he stayed silent, letting the officers take control. The second officer stepped closer to the teen. "Do you understand what you did was wrong?" he asked. "You can't just damage someone else's property because you feel like it. Do you understand?" The teen swallowed hard, her eyes dropping to the ground. "Yes," she whispered. Alex noticed something in that moment, a flicker of genuine guilt, the first real sign that the chaos hadn't just been fun for her. She was realizing the consequences. The officer then looked at Alex. "We'll document the damage and talk to her parents about supervision. She'll receive a warning. In this case, it's fortunate the damage wasn't worse, but your complaint will be officially recorded." The teen's mother let out a shaky sigh, nodding reluctantly. She pulled her daughter close, whispering something under her breath. The teen didn't protest this time. Alex could see she had learned something: not everything could be manipulated, not every game would end in her favor. The crowd of neighbors slowly began to disperse, some shaking their heads, some whispering about what they had just witnessed. The street returned to its normal quiet, but the tension lingered like a shadow over the afternoon sun. Alex walked slowly to his Lamborghini, inspecting the scratches one more time. They were minor, almost superficial, but they told a story far bigger than the paint damage. They told a story of audacity, chaos, and a day when order had been challenged. As he ran his hand gently over the car, he realized something else: it wasn't just the teen who had learned a lesson. He had learned too about patience, escalation, and the unpredictable nature of human behavior. The officers packed up their notes and left, leaving the street quiet once more. Alex glanced at the teen, now walking silently with her mother. Her earlier confidence had disappeared. The playful chaos had ended, replaced by the weight of responsibility. But even as peace returned, Alex knew one thing: the memory of this confrontation, the shouting, the chase, the crowd, the tension, would stay with him forever. And though the Lamborghini had survived, the day had left its mark, not just on the car, but on everyone who had witnessed the storm unfold. The street had finally quieted down. The neighbors had gone back inside their homes, some still whispering about the chaos they had witnessed. The Lamborghini, once the center of attention, now stood silently under the afternoon sun, its glossy yellow surface scarred by faint scratches. Alex ran his fingers gently over the marks. They weren't deep, but they carried a story of audacity, defiance, and a clash of personalities. Alex took a deep breath. The adrenaline that had surged through him all afternoon was finally fading, replaced by a strange calm. The cops had left, the teen had been taken home by her mother, and the crowd had dispersed. And yet, the tension of the day lingered, like smoke after a fire. He looked at the Lamborghini and then at the quiet street. Something about the day felt different. It wasn't just about scratches on a car. It was about human behavior, about pride, and about boundaries. For Alex, the lesson was clear: not everything could be controlled, no matter how much you wanted to. People could surprise you, challenge you, and even frustrate you beyond belief. Across the street, the teen and her mother had disappeared into their house. Alex couldn't see their faces, but he imagined the teen sitting quietly, reflecting on her actions for the first time. For her, the lesson would be different: about respect, consequences, and the limits of playfulness. Alex stepped back and let out a slow breath. He realized something important: the Lamborghini, as beautiful and valuable as it was, wasn't the most important thing in this whole ordeal. What mattered was composure, patience, and knowing when to act and when to call for help. He chuckled softly to himself, shaking his head. The chaos of the day had been exhausting, even frustrating, but it had also been enlightening. Life had a way of teaching lessons in the most unexpected ways, and today had been a vivid example. As he walked back toward his car, his phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from a friend appeared: "Saw the chaos outside. Everything okay?" Alex smiled, typing a short reply: "All under control. Lesson learned." He paused for a moment, looking at the Lamborghini one last time. The scratches would fade, the memories would remain, and his story, would stay vivid in his mind. There was a strange satisfaction in knowing he had handled the situation, not perfectly, but wisely. Yet, even in the quiet, Alex felt a flicker of anticipation. The teen had tested boundaries, challenged authority, and caused chaos with a simple action. And deep down, he knew that while this chapter was closed, the world was full of unpredictable people and unexpected moments. Lessons, he realized, never truly ended, they only prepared you for the next challenge. With that thought, Alex ran his hand along the Lamborghini once more, appreciating its beauty, its imperfections, and the story it now carried. The day had ended, but the memory, the lessons, and the tension lingered like a shadow that would always remind him of the unpredictability of life. He got into the car, started the engine, and felt the familiar roar beneath him. The street was empty, the sun slowly lowering in the sky. Everything seemed calm, almost peaceful. Yet, Alex knew better. Life had a way of surprising you. And the next time, he thought, he would be ready. The Lamborghini drove off, leaving behind a quiet street, faint scratches on a bright yellow car, and a story that would never be forgotten.